Hello guys, today I'm standing here with a 2019 Tesla Model S 75D, and today I'm going to show you all of its cool gadgets and features. I'm going to take it on a test drive, and then I'm going to tell you guys if I still think Tesla is the king of EVs. And before I get into all the cool gadgets and features of the car itself, I'm just going to give you a little overview on this car. Now this has a dual motor system. It pumps out 518 horsepower. It goes 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Has a top speed of about 143 miles an hour, and it has a 300-mile charging range. Now, this car also costs around $80,000 before you start adding in options, which actually aren't too expensive on a Tesla. All right guys, so the first thing that I want to start off with in this review is the infotainment system, because obviously this is a Tesla and the infotainment system is really the #1 thing that it shines. This is where Tesla exceeds all other auto manufacturers, and this is why I wanted to start with it. Now the first thing that you're going to notice about the infotainment system is just how large it is. This is a 17-inch touchscreen. It's actually sitting vertical rather than horizontal like a lot of other cars have. But the whole entire screen is just absolutely huge. Now the size of the screen is actually not the whole story. The actual technology inside the infotainment system is something that cannot go unnoticed. Now it obviously has your basic features such as navigation and air conditioning and various trip information. However, there's actually a lot of other things that you can control via the infotainment system. Now if you click on the far bottom left of your screen, you're going to see a car button, and when you click on it, a bunch of different controls and systems are going to pop up. You can adjust your suspension, you can adjust your lights, you can adjust your drive mode, you can even do autopilot, which I'll talk about in a minute. You can adjust your display, and it shows your navigation and service and your software updates, which a lot of other cars, these types of controls, you would have to click on a button or you wouldn't even be able to control them. But on Tesla, it's just easily laid out, and I love the aesthetic of the infotainment system, and it's just really easily used, and I actually like it a lot. Now the next interesting thing that I want to note in the infotainment system is that to control your headlights, you actually do it via the infotainment system. In most cars, it's usually on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You twist a little knob and your headlights come on. However, in the Tesla, you control your headlights via a touchscreen system. It's actually pretty easy. You can go off, you can go parking on, auto, you can put your fog lights on, you can also fold your mirrors on. And it's actually pretty intuitive, and I like that a lot. Now another funny feature in the infotainment system that I want to talk about is the driving section. Now obviously you click on it and it's going to show what driving mode you want, how you want your car to handle, etc. However, the words and the names that they use for it is just very funny. Now for acceleration, you have two different modes. You have chill, which I've never heard before in a car, and then you have standard. Obviously chill is going to be your more relaxed, easygoing mode. Standard is obviously going to be pretty much what the fastest acceleration that the car has. And then when you go to your steering wheel, you have comfort, standard, sport, which is actually pretty normal. That's how most auto manufacturers would label it. However, if you go below it a little bit, you're going to see this little section called creep. Now creep, I don't know what that means, but when you look underneath it, it shows a little description, and it shows that you're going to slowly move when the brake pedal is released. Now, next thing that I want to talk about in the infotainment system is the software updates. Now, a lot of you guys may be wondering, why is there a software update in a car? Well, because Tesla is an EV, and you know, this is what Elon Musk has decided to do. He regularly, periodically gives software updates to all of the people who own his cars. Now, what happens in these software updates? Well, various things can happen. You can get infotainment upgrades, but usually it is actually performance and horsepower upgrades along with some steering and autopilot upgrades, which I think is actually a pretty cool feature. Now, some people don't like that because people who have the older cars are going to be just as fast as people who get the newer cars, which gives less incentive to buy a new Tesla. Now, a funny feature that I found when I clicked on the software is that at the top right hand of the screen, you see XAE A12. Now this is odd, this isn't a language that we speak. However, this is actually Elon Musk's son's name that he recently had. So on the newest Tesla model update, he decided to put his son's name on your car in case you forgot what his name was. Now, last thing I want to talk about with the software update is if you guys are confused if your car is up to date, all you have to do is just go down to the bottom and it show you what version it is. Now, if you don't know what the newest version is, usually Tesla will ask you to update it if you don't have the newest update version, or you could just go to Tesla's website and check that out. Now, the next thing that most of you guys probably do know is that Tesla has autopilot. Now, for those of you who don't know, autopilot is basically a full self-driving system. This means that when you're on the highway, you You can literally just take your hands off the wheel, relax, go on your phone, and your car is going to drive for you. And this is obviously one of the biggest selling points of a Tesla. Now, in addition to autopilot, there are a couple other safety features which I think are worth noting. You obviously have your speed limit warning, you have your just speed limit, you have forward collision warning, lane departure, emergency lane avoidance, blind spot collision, emergency braking, obstacle awareness, acceleration. And now, obviously, all these things are cool, they're helpful. The thing that I actually think is cool is that when you're on the driver's gauge cluster, it actually shows you what objects are around you. So if there's a car passing you, it'll show a car on your gauge cluster, or if there's a wall or there's construction cones on you on your driver's gauge cluster, it will actually show you how close those things are to your car and where they're located. Now, next thing I want to talk about is Tesla's air suspension, which I actually love. Now, it's very easy to control. You just go to your infotainment system, you click on suspension, and you just click on your ride height that you want. You have very high, high, standard, and low. Obviously, low is going to be your more sporty, better handling. Very high is maybe if you're going off-roading, and standard is just basically what you're going to drive every day. Now, last thing I want to talk about with the infotainment system is just how responsive it is. Every single time that you touch on it, it responds just as quick as an iPhone or an Android. Everything is very high quality, it's very high definition, and everything is just so easily to navigate around. All the controls and buttons are just so easy to know where everything is at, and I just really like that Tesla is basically the first car auto manufacturer to really take infotainment to the next level. Next thing that stands out to me in the interior of the Model S is just how much practical storage space you have. Now, in the middle center dash, you have these two cup holders, which are actually very massive. They have a ton of space. You can fit very large drinks in them, and also has a little cover that you can slide over it if you don't want your cup holders showing. And then above the cup holders, you also have this other storage compartment, which you can probably put your phone or your car keys in. It's not too big, but it's just enough to fit more stuff in. And then behind the two cup holders, you actually have two USB ports, and then you also have a charging outlet, which is obviously good because you can charge your phone or whatever you need to charge in your car. And then up here on the armrest, you have two more cup holders to fit in. Now, if you don't want to use the cup holders and you just want to use the armrest, you can do that by just sliding the armrest forward, and it just covers the cup holder, and it makes the car just look a little bit more aesthetic. Now, next thing I want to talk about is the overall quality and materials in the interior of the car. Now, obviously, this is where Tesla kind of falls below its competitors in. It doesn't really have real leather all over. It doesn't have a bunch of, customization. It doesn't have a bunch of stitching and all that stuff in it. It doesn't even have a ton of details. On the door panels, they're pretty basic. You just have, a little door handle, a little armrest, and you can control your windows and stuff. But it doesn't just have a lot of detail and craftsmanship inside of it. And also, when you look in the center dash, it's also not a ton going on. It's really just one big infotainment system, and the rest of it is pretty basic. So, compared to a BMW, Audi, or Mercedes for the same price, the Tesla interior quality is just a little bit subpar. But obviously, Tesla makes up for it in different areas, but in terms of the interior quality, it's just not quite class leading. So the next thing I want to talk about is the front end of the car. Now, obviously, as you guys know, the first generation of the Model S, they tried to incorporate this fake grille, and it just looked really weird, and it was kind of just trying to fit into something that it wasn't. So in 2018, when Tesla came up with the new facelift of the Model S, they actually made a little bit smaller grille, and I just think it looks a lot better, more sporty, and just kind of fits the car better. Now, the next thing that I want to mention is that because this is an EV and it's not a combustion car, there's no engine in the front, which means that you actually get a trunk in the front of your Tesla. And to open it, you just go to your central infotainment system, and there's just this little button that you click on and the hood pops up. And then when you finally get the trunk open, you actually have quite a bit of room. You can probably fit 2 small luggage bags in here, which isn't a whole lot, but considering that it's a sedan and it has a trunk, this is actually pretty helpful and practical. Now, aside from being practical and useful, you can also just brag that your trunk is in the front. So whenever you see a Ferrari or Lamborghini owner that's bragging about their front, well, you can say, my Tesla has that too. Now, the next cool feature that I want to show you on the car is actually this little brake light right here. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's so special about it? It's just a brake light. Well, actually, this is the charging port. And to open it, it's pretty simple. You just click on it and it opens. And that's where you actually plug your plug-in to charge your car, because this is an EV. And then after you're finished charging, if you want to close it, it's pretty simple. You just go like that and it just locks by itself. The next thing I want to talk about in the rear end of their car is just the overall look. I think it's actually a pretty cool look. It's very kind of round, but it's also smooth and sporty and also has a sense of aggression to it. The next thing I want to move on to is the actual trunk, which I think is one of the most spacious trunks of all the sedans out there. Now to open it, it's pretty simple. You just open it like a regular trunk. There's a button right there. It just pops open like that. And then underneath you have this massive trunk. Now this trunk actually is bigger than a lot of SUVs. This thing has about 30 cubic feet of space, which you can literally lay down back here. And in fact, Tesla, I think in 2016 and 2017, they actually had a third row back here because it was so big. But since then, they got rid of that with the newer models. But I think it's actually better because you can literally just fit a bunch of stuff back here. Now, next I'm going to take you guys to the back seat of their car, which I actually think has a ton of room, especially for a sedan. It's pretty comfortable. I'm about 5'10" and I have plenty of leg room. This actually has more leg room than a lot of other cars like BMW 3 Series or 5 Series, which I think is actually pretty useful and practical. Now, in terms of seat comfortability, the seats are all right. They're not super comfortable. They're a little too squishy for my liking. They don't have a ton of back support. And then they're obviously not made out of like the real leather. They're made out of this like weird fiber synthetic leather material, which is all right, but I feel like there's a little bit better quality in some other cars. Another feature that I like to note is that you do have 2 USB cables in here underneath the air vents. So obviously if you guys want to charge your phones, you can do that in the back seat. So to wrap up the interior, my biggest complaint in the Tesla is just the fact that it doesn't have a ton of customizable options. In other cars such as BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and Porsche, there's a bunch of different leather and stitching and color options and different configurations that you can add to your car. But in the Tesla, there's only a couple options, which means that basically every other Tesla on the road is going to have the same exact car as you, besides maybe the exterior color. And personally, I think for a car that's almost $100,000, I feel like Tesla should just bump up the configurations and customization just a little bit. All right, guys, so we are in the Tesla. We are off driving it now. All right, so I'm just cruising right here. Ride quality is actually pretty good. It's very smooth, very easy to drive. It's not, herky-jerky like some of the other more sporty cars are. All right, so I'm just gonna step on it right here just to see. Oh shit, bro. Holy crap. Dude, this thing's fucking fast, bro. Holy shites. Wow. Okay, well that was quick. Tesla fans say that they don't care about exhaust noise because their car's just so quick or whatever. And I kind of agree with them. All right, so I'm at a stoplight right now. I'm just kind of looking around the car, looking at the materials, looking at the overall look of the car. It does seem a little subpar in terms of the quality and materials of the car. I don't know, it's just feels kind of plasticky, kind of fake. It does have a really cool modern look to it, but it's just not quite as luxurious or exotic as, some of the European cars. Jesus. All right, so the brakes are not extremely firm. They're a little soft, to be honest. The brakes are not that good. All right, guys, so we have some corners coming up, and I'm just gonna step on it and see how this thing handles, so let's get into it. Alright guys, so we're taking the corner right now. Yeah, there's a lot of tire squeal. It's alright. I don't know. Traction control light is coming on right now. I don't know. I don't love the handling in this car. It doesn't seem very precise. It's a little loose. Traction control is coming on a lot. It's not bad, but obviously this car is extremely heavy. It's an EV. It just isn't the best handling, to be honest. So guys, first test driving the Tesla, I already have somebody trying to race me. There's this SUV. He's in like a Jeep Cherokee next to me. So I guess if you're in a Tesla, people are gonna try to race you. But I'll let you guys know if I win. So just gapped him. See ya, buddy. See ya, boy. Goodbye. I don't get why people try to race like EVs off the line, because like there's no way that your car has so much torque. All right, so visibility in the Tesla, it's good out the front, but seeing people in your blind spots is extremely hard. I didn't really understand what people loved about Tesla. I always kind of thought Tesla people were just obnoxious, they're crazy, they, you know, how are they obsessed with the car that is literally an iPhone on wheels? And you know, when you spend more time inside the Tesla, you kind of start to understand why people like the car, why it's special. For those of you like car guys out there who kind of like to bring Tesla down and say, oh, you know, they're not a real car brand, you know, just get inside of one. I'm not saying that you're going to absolutely love it and it's going to be your favorite car ever, but they're better than you think. You know, to the average consumer, I think the Tesla Model S is a perfect car because it has all the things that average consumers want. But for the enthusiast, is it the best car out there? I don't think so. I think that there's a lot more engaging and raw, enthusiast-oriented cars to drive out there. As cool as the Tesla is, it wouldn't be my first choice for a car at that price. Now, in terms of range, I've been driving this car for about 15-20 minutes, and I've already lost like 50 miles. So obviously range is an issue, not just in Teslas, but just in all EVs. So that's kind of the trade-off when you get an electric car. I'm sure if you drive in eco mode and all that stuff, you could probably, you know, preserve a lot of your battery. But if you're someone who likes to drive your car, you're probably not going to, you know, your battery's gonna run out pretty fast. Alright guys, so I'm on the highway right now. I just wanted to test it out just to see how the wind noise is, and it is extremely loud in here. Obviously because there is no engine or anything to block out the road noise. You hear every little tire noise, every car coming by you. You hear everything on the road. So as quiet as this car is when you're just kind of cruising around town, it's extremely loud on the highway. Just kind of wrapping this video up. General overall impressions, it's definitely better than I thought it would be. I see why people like it, and I understand now why some people are so obsessed and into Tesla, because it really is cool what they've done with infotainment. It's a really quick car, it looks good, but obviously it doesn't appeal to everybody. Personally, for me, I still wouldn't put it at the top of my list for cars to buy for 80, 90, 100 grand. But if I was going with an electric car, then I think this would have to be it. Yes, that wraps up the review for today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Make sure you smash the like button, make sure you comment below, and make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to see more car review videos like these, guys. Also, I have a link in my description linking all the equipment I use, so if you guys were interested in that, make sure you go check that out, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.